So today's a bit of a weird one. Look at me. Look at how clueless and oblivious I am to the fact that my microphone is not on at the time of this recording or any recording hereafter. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to be doing a post commentary of what took place in episode 2 of Seaopolis Submerged. Welcome back, guys. Sometimes this happens. I don't understand how one moment I'm recording on this microphone and the next it sets itself to another, takes on life of its own, and just, why is this idiot getting in the water? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to be trying to commentate and narrate everything that takes place. See if I can do it justice. So shortly after the start of this recording, I, in my mind, determined that I did not know how to craft bones. Here I'm kind of getting curious, discovering that I can make a set of diving gear, and it's fairly simple. I just need the bones to get things going. Like, I can't get paper without the bones. So this was a rock and a hard place, but I was determined to figure it out. Nothing too complicated as it seemed. This is so annoying. I'm surprised I'm even still doing it, but bear with me, all right? A couple hours later, hopped back on. There I am relaxing. But little do I know, there's nothing to be relaxing about, because, you know what, I'm going to stop complaining. I'm just admiring my favorite duck, Daffy Duck. And then I hit him because he was getting in my way, which was annoying. Which you'll see later on creates certain issues that I don't want to ruin the surprise. It's quite the surprise, alright? So just stay tuned. Love you, Daffy. So for some odd, unknown, irrational reason, I was thinking that this composter was going to be my source of bones. Yep, this is with no prior knowledge of how to start the bone process, which is very simple and also not really. Maybe just required a tad bit of common sense, which I lacked in this very moment. So yeah, just watch me waste my time here for a few minutes. You know, you see I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, there's the bones. Now, how in the world do I get bones? That's the question. So in the midst of my confusion, Daffy is right there next to my sapling, and I decide to plant the tree, and oh no, what is that noise? Daffy has died, and there's a chicken breast laying on the ground. That is all that remains of Daffy. You can see my face and how destroyed I am emotionally. This was not on purpose. This was all Daffy contributed to the world, is this piece of chicken. I'm laughing, but I'm crying on the inside, alright? I said I'd put it in the chest and we'd always remember Daffy Duck. And there's Donald looking at me, disappointed, like I'm guilty of something, like I committed a crime. It's comedy. It's comedy. More than anything, it's just unfortunate. I warned Daffy at the beginning of this episode. I was like, do not stand in my way. And what did he do? He stayed in my way and he found out. He messed around and found out. Speaking of finding out, I still haven't found out how to make the bones, but stay tuned, brother. Here we are, roughly, I don't know, 30 minutes later after doing a bit of diligent research, and I'm finding out that you can put other objects that aren't fish onto the cutting board, and you can then cut that object. It was about as shocking as finding out Michael Jackson was black. Just kidding, I knew that. Anyway, but it's just, look at this, right? Something so simple, like that you would think it's common sense, and somehow you can't hear me, but I'm talking about it. I'm like, is this really common sense, right? Is it really? I would say yes. I would say this was something I shouldn't have missed out on. Like, what else am I going to get bones from other than the bone blocks? Like, maybe the fish bone, maybe the fish bones. Like, but yeah, I digress. So we make a bone mesh, and the bone mesh is going to elevate my strainer. I think next I was trying to get Pebbles. I was stuck on this part too for a bit. Inevitably, I discovered the keys in this bone section. I'm currently observing where I would deem best to extend out this room I spawned in, right? And the room I spawned in is like a normal size room, right? And so I couldn't quite gauge how big I wanted the next room to be. I just knew I wanted to extend out in a direction because at some point, you know, the storage kind of gets steep and overwhelming, and I need to consolidate it somehow. So that is something I made a sub priority. Right now, obviously, I need the pebbles. So here you will see me making the bone hammer, checking the recipe for the bone hammer, and just crafting it to get the reward. Ah, look, it's the key recipe. Okay. Ah, look, it's me crafting the key recipe.
And here you'll see a confused gazelle in his natural habitat, not knowing how to make a proper functioning key. Will he figure it out? Find out next time.
So the base key is the skeleton key, and from the skeleton key, I believe you get key fragments. So yes, you bust it up on the cutting board. But this was another thing, like, you know, obviously the hammer has its use. This was the use for my hammer. It was to beat the key on the cutting board to get key fragments. That sound effect was top tier. I haven't used a single sound effect in this edit. Need you to drop a like for that sound effect. Anyway, use these key fragments to make a key block remover, right? And then with the key block remover, you make a normal room key, tall room key, whichever key suits your needs best for that situation. Boom, I'm back like some baby back ribs. As you can see, I made a 9x4 square room for me. Obviously, it's one layer short. It's not the normal room. It is the smaller room key that I decided to use. And I'm deciding, hey, this is going to be like a storage area slash functionality area. I don't know. There's not really a blueprint for how this place is going to turn out. So, yeah, renovations are being made. Nothing major, but renovations nonetheless. Oh, don't mind this part. This is me being utterly confused and completely lost by the functionality of hoppers. Yeah, so we're just gonna leave this version of me in the past and forget all about it. You said what? You said, did I ever figure out how to use hoppers? Yes and no. I hate that I have to answer it that way, but yes and no. So, fancy seeing you here. This is a colossal moment. This is the moment when I find out how I'm gonna get cobblestone, aka pebbles to make cobblestone, right? You know, as I'm sitting here clicking through these tabs and clicking around, I'm like, that looks funny. Are those leaves through the bone mesh making pebbles? Is that what I'm seeing? You should be proud of me for reading this through my own investigating and properly executing said task. Look at this. Look at the bewilderment on my face as I see this pebble pop into. Look at that. Yeah, this is such an impressive moment, just reading something the way they intended, just for you to see the result of what you just read. You know, a wise man once said nothing at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and say nothing and just... Oh! No, sometimes I'm glad I get to go back and look back at the, you know, footage while I do this post commentary, just to see how dumb some of my theories are. What are we doing? Why are we getting distracted? Let's focus on the task at hand and make this furnace. So right now, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make this furnace. Let's do that, shall we? Boop, there's the furnace. Love to see it. Let's open the furnace. Wow, never seen this layout before. Make some stone because there was a recipe for stone. I think right now I'm trying to make a redstone clock and the catalog, which is basically the store for my B-Bucks. Now, for some odd reason, I'm very intrigued by this redstone clock and how it's used in tandem with the dispenser and the cutting board and the hopper in the chest, right? So all that may sound confusing at first, but it's an automatic cutting board that's supposed to flow through the hopper into the chest, but I couldn't figure out the flowing into the chest part. But I did end up building this contraption and was very impressed by the knife functioning like a knife inside of the dispenser. It just blew my mind because I'm not a redstone guy. I don't work with anything automatic in Minecraft. This is me cleaning up my mess I made earlier. As you saw, I was trying to swim in the ocean again, not questioning it. It's in the past. All right, now that all my stone is finished smelting and I have the recipe for the catalog, I am deciding where I want to place my catalog. I figured, well, let's just place it in the brand new room. Finally decided where to place it. Here I'm kind of lost. I'm like, well, how do I get this puppy to function? And then there I was. I do the unthinkable. I take my B-Bucks wallet, stick it in the B-Bucks catalog, and look at that. All of a sudden there's all these different items that I know nothing about. Most of them sound like they are for more advanced things which I will encounter in the future, like a jump boost for 100 seconds, jump on the roof of the nether and the colored cave dimensions to ascend. What are we talking about? What does that even mean? Maybe it'll come in handy later, but for right now I have no idea what this stuff is good for. You see, the beauty of me playing this mod pack is that I go through all these cycles of confusion. Like with each new thing that has confusing aspects to it, I will spend a diligent amount of time, and that's me being generous, a diligent amount of time processing and trying to figure out what its function is, how it works. So obviously this is a drying table, and I'm finding out that these leafy strings are made easily from leaves, and I'm like, man, I can do the leaves. I got leaves. right here. Look at that. So that was easy to come by, and I'm using these leafy strings for the recipe for the drying table. Maybe in the next clip or so is me struggling to figure out how to dry something on a drying table if it's not already soaked. Caveat to that is that water has to be placed underneath the drying table for things to get soaked, and then you maybe need another drying table somewhere else to dry it off. Eventually I speed this process up by putting a drying table underneath with water underneath that, with another drying table on top of the drying table with water underneath the original drying table. That's confused. That's right. You see what I'm saying? That's where all this is gonna go. But before we get there, we have to arrive at this automatic cutting board dispenser contraption I made. I grabbed whatever you can put on the cutting board for the... Yep, and just like that. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's so awesome. But here was the dilemma. No matter how I changed it to where it faced the dispenser like it was in the example. The items just weren't getting close enough to the hopper. It is automatic to an extent, but it's not. I have to like manually go up to it and put the knife in it. It's still pretty cool, but maybe we'll make it more advanced in the future. So here we are, back to the drying table. I figured I need log sheets to start the paper process. So like first you need the log sheets, then you need soaked paper, then you need to dry the paper, then you can use that paper, mix it with charcoal and make a charcoal filter, and then use the charcoal filter with the, I think the leafy strings to make the marine fabric, and use the marine fabric to make diving gear, which was one of my goals in this episode, which was to go diving, go check out the structures underneath, and yes, this is the beginning stages of that process. Now here where I'm getting stuck is, like I mentioned earlier, not realizing you need something underneath if you're gonna hang a dry piece of log sheet there, like it, you know what I mean? So here I'm like trying to put a water bucket in there to soak the thing. Yeah, common sense wasn't very common. So, little sidebar, I could only take so much more of that dispenser clicking in the background, so I went ahead and turned that lovely sound off just in the meantime. Who's trying to hear that, gang? Nobody. So now we will use all the items gathered solely from the drying table with the leafy fibers that I crafted from my leaves, and I'm gonna make some marine fabric. And you already know what we're gonna make next. That diving gear, take it to the next level, dive into the deep blue sea and not experience any toxic feedback. So yep, there's the first piece, which is the helmet. I think maybe I had enough for the pants, I don't know, but we grabbed this reward from that, and from this point forward, obviously I'm gonna craft the rest of the suit, and then we can go explore. As you can see in the bottom left, your boy was quite stoked and excited about his new diving gear, fully created in 4K. And you can also see the strainer in the, well, not the strainer, I'm sorry, the drying table in the back. That is the newer system, the more improved system. It like sped up my process to finish the rest of the gear like by, I would say by 2, like ×2. So with this new gear, we're gonna go ahead and dive down here and see what I can get myself into. Saluting Daffy Duck, because we know what happened to Daffy Duck earlier. Wild. So here goes nothing and everything all at once. I mean, I practically spent this entire recording session building the resources to get this diving gear to go down here. As you can see, I'm not taking any damage from the water. The bubbles aren't rapidly declining, and I think everything is looking good with my brand new diving gear, which I just crafted using only the drying table, which was not a pain in the butt whatsoever. Totally seamless process for me. And just organized a few of my items before I got way too ahead of myself and jumped down there. Good move by me for once. Good move, good move. So as I went down from my second plunge, I seen a structure off in the distance, and I thought to myself, that looks harmless. There couldn't be any sea guardians. Oops, sticky keys. That scared me. Did that scare you? I digress. We go in here and I'm thinking, pretty harmless. Nothing can really hurt me down here. I don't need any weapons. And I see a spawner. Then I see mobs. I'm like, this was not a good idea. As I panic, I swim out of this structure, running back to safety. Go back, recalibrate. Yep, like so. Okay, find the door, buddy. Find it. Yep, find it. Find it. Fine. Good job. Good job. So in order to prepare for this third plunge, I knew I would need weapons to protect my person. So I did just that. So let's enjoy this third plunge. Jump right back down into the ocean. Here we are. This time I was determined. I wasn't sure if I'd find anything or leave with anything, but the confidence was all I needed. Right now, just obviously, and look at that, baby. We find a chest full of loot. I don't know what your definition of success is. This is what it looks like to me. I'd assume, that's probably it. There can't be enough. And look at that. Mediocre loot, but loot nonetheless, okay? I was a happy man. It gave me key fragments, so I'm obviously going to be able to make more keys to expand the base. Sorry for the shorter episode. Obviously, I had to make some sacrifices with the lack of audio. This surely won't happen again. But before you go, I would like you to meet the reincarnated version of Daffy the Duck in a dog. Here was me considering feeding my new dog, Daffy. Now why, you ask? You think this is a bad idea? Of course it's not. It feeds my dog and now he's happy. Minecraft, listen, hear me out. Let me put it like this. Minecraft dogs never poop, right? So the soul of Daffy Duck will just stay inside of my new companion that is the wolf, right? So technically, it's just Daffy's soul inside of... Should I stop? Yeah, okay. But y'all have a good day, man.